Good afternoon. It is Friday, November 3rd, 2017. This is Jarlin Blair speaking. Here's what's happening. Well, I actually have myself a new mount now, so if I need a GPS or anything else, at least I know I have myself a new mount. So that's why you can see me. So try my best not to make it a distraction while I'm driving, so no worries, at least it's hands-free. Anyway, so yesterday, Thursday, I had no one to ruin a thing for me in terms of the Jet game. Okay, I mean, I had choir practice last night, but that was that got, we were out early enough to where I could catch up and be caught up to live action by halftime. So I was very grateful for that. But next to the Miami Dolphin game, yesterday was probably the most complete performance by the Jets as a whole. I mean, maybe they're a little scary at the end there in garbage time, but don't let a 34-21 lead be misleading, because the Jets, dominated that game from the start. Once, the way they didn't score in their opening possession, okay, but on their second possession, they went right down the field. McCown taking it to the house on his own for a 10-yard run for a touchdown. I mean, you sit there and you're like, are you sure he's 38 years old? But again, Buffalo came right back down. Buffalo came right back down and, late in the first into the second quarter, tying the game 7-7. Forgot what his name, what that kid's name was, number 11, I think Jones' name. Then he had that nasty injury, hyperextending, and then I believe he got hurt later. He came back after that, hyperextending that leg, only to I don't know if he re-injured it or something, but I forgot what it was, but he didn't come back in the game. And from what I understand, he's gone for the year. I guess from whatever else happened. I think it was an arm injury. Was it him? I think so. I think it was him. But anyway, but still, and then after that, you know what? The number one thing that helped the Jets was the run defense, the defense, especially the D-line. The D-line gave Tyrod Taylor not much time. The D-line shut down LaShawn McCoy. This is the same Bills offense that, dominated the Jets in week 1. That ran amok all over the Jet defense. Not last night. Tyrod Taylor early had that 18-yard run, but outside of that, the Jets gave him nothing. And I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, they sacked him, 7 times? This Jet team only had 11 sacks going into the game last night, and they totaled 7 sacks. I mean, and everyone contributed in some way, shape, or form. The only thing the Jets didn't do in terms of turnover was an interception. The defense forced 3 turnovers, all on fumbles. Jordan Matthews of the Bills fumbled one going down. I think his own arm hit the football out. There was that one on the tight end. What's his name? O'Leary, whatever his name was. He actually got back up, and replay showed he was not touched when he fell down on a catch. Would have been a first down and then some. Only to come back, had the ball knocked out of his hands. And then there was the fourth quarter when Tyrod Taylor was strip sacked, and I forgot who knocked it. I think it might have been Jordan Jenkins who set the tone, to open down that Bills' first possession, sacking Taylor. That front 7, I'll tell you. They were monstrous yesterday. They were monstrous. And let's see. Yeah, and the last one, what is his name? Picked it up and, Demario Davis, and almost took it to the house shortly after Forte took one in the end zone. And speaking of the offense, Josh McCown didn't have to do much. He went 14-20. He only threw the ball 20 times last night. Innocent little game. He didn't have to do a whole lot. The running game, Bilal Powell had, a big play or two. He had another one, later on negated with a penalty, but, that big 51-yarder where I stepped away to get a quick slice of pizza, and my wife was watching the game with me last night. She was screaming, like, what happened? So I quickly ran back, and surely enough, a play later, Forte was in the end zone. I mean, like I said, this complete effort. And then, of course, Robbie Anderson. I mean, how good is Robbie Anderson? He continues to be that vertical deep threat that he is. He's just fast. And he just straight up, he just beats the defender on a vertical deep threat. He's done this how many times already? You know, a couple times against the Dolphins. He's done, you know, I love it. You know, he has been everything asked for. The only small negative, much as he's done very well, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, you know, didn't have his best game last night. He had a nice catch where he caught it in between a couple of Bill defenders and he took off for some. You know, he did drop that onside kick later in the game, you know, leading to another late score by the Bills. You know, he wasn't called, but, you know, he had a touchdown yanked away from him. Any surprise there? Where, what's his name? Matt Forte got called for a pick. Initially, we thought it was, you know, Seferian-Jenkins pushed the defender. It turned out Forte was called for a pick. You know, that took away a touchdown, which would have given the Jets a 14-7 lead in the second quarter. But, you know, they made it up with a field goal, and then after that, they just took off. And when they led 24-7 at the end of the third quarter, I'm like, you cannot, Jets, you cannot blow this lead. For the life of it, please do not blow this game. You know, was it insurmountable? You know, they scored late in garbage time, you know, and the penalties need to be stopped. You know, the penalties have to stop. I mean, you know, we just signed up some guy from Robinson from San Francisco. I didn't really see him in the game. Maybe, you know, like Kelvin Benjamin did with Buffalo. Maybe just kind of joined a little too late on a short week. But, you know. But I'll tell you this, you know, speaking for the other side, I'll tell you what, you know, much as the Jets were hungry and they needed this game, you know, and what's been, and let's face it, the AFC as a whole is just very, very mediocre. I mean, no one is like really running away right now. You know, the New England Patriots are not a strong 6-2. The Kansas City Chiefs, you know, slipped there for a little bit there. You know, they got there. You know, they got it back there against Denver on Monday night. No one is really like assured saying, so much as the Jets have a tough schedule going ahead, you know, the AFC does not, you know, if the Jets can play the game that they played last night, you know, I really think they could take out some of these tougher opponents that they're due for, you know, and a lot of people in this league are very up and down, you know, more than you think, you know. But that being said, I mean, and speaking of, you know, on the Buffalo Bills side, I mean, the Buffalo Bills, you know, were really, you know, rolling, and they were like, you know, they're like on their way to like their best season in a while. Even though they finished 8-8 last year, or was it 7-9? I forgot what it was, but you know, whenever it was that got Rex canned, I think they finished 7-9. But, like, you know, they look like a team that's on the rise. You know, they're, what were they, 5-2 coming into last night? Something like that. Yeah, they were 5-2 going into last night. And, honestly, the Bills, with that effort last night against the Jets, like I said, the Jets were a very hungry team last night. You know what? The Bills just looked downright dreadful. And they didn't look, I mean, under the spotlights, under the you know, the night lights, they looked horrible, you know. I mean, the Jets, you know, destroyed them from pillar to post, but the Buffalo Bills looked god awful. I mean, with the exception of garbage time there, you know, they looked. I mean, LaShawn McCoy looked. I mean, that defense, you know, that defense prides itself, you know, an upper echelon defense in the league. The Bills just look dreadful, you know. And for the Jets running game, I mean, this is the second game this year where the running game just totally beat up a good, you know, a top-notch defense. The first one was the Jaguars. Speaking of teams that are up and down this year, that are like they look strong, but then, you know, they don't finish. The Jets run game had their way against the Jaguars, you know, back in early October. But this last night was just another one. Forte, Powell, you know, and Forte, you know, voiced his opinion after the Atlanta game last Sunday. I mean, let's be real, though, with the Jets. If they learn to close these games without crapping out late, I mean, they shouldn't be 4-5. They should be at least 6-3. You know, I'll spare them New England. I mean, they should have beaten New England, but I'll spare New England. New England's New England. But the Miami game, look at Miami. They just traded Jay Ajayi away. I mean, the coach is frustrated with the offense. The Jets gave up 31 points to that offense. You know? It's like, talk about a game that, there was another game, should there be any talks about what, late in December. Obviously that's a long time from now, and 9 games have been played. But you never know. This team wasn't expected to win 4 games. Okay? If even that. Here we are, 4-5. Should be even more. All the pro tankers, if we finish 7-9, 8-8, what good is it doing us? Listen, I want to see this team compete. Any of us, that root, I want to see the team compete. Right now the team is competing. They're relevant as the season's moving forward. And I'm not going to jump ahead here. They got the Tampa Bay Bucks a week from Sunday. Now I'm not worried about ducking anybody this upcoming week. But like, you got the Tampa Bay Bucks, and you know what? We thought they were going to be. The Tampa Bay Bucks are just a disaster. They're just not that. They're not that good, and the bloom is really falling off the rose down there. Obviously you got to play the game. Give an effort like this, Tampa Bay is going to be, just don't make, the Jets are going to win these games. They cannot make it hard on us. But I think going forward, if you look at things though, I really think even if the Jets play their A game, like the game they played last night, something tells me with the remaining schedule they do have, we're halfway through the season now. This is week 9 now. I think given the schedule they do have from the looks of it, it's looking like it's too little too late. And, you still have to contend with New Orleans, who's been on a roll. You have to contend with Kansas City. You have to contend, if you're there in week 17, it's the Patriots in Foxborough. Honestly, despite how mediocre things are in this conference, they're just going to fall short. And it's going to point right back to October and how those 3 games they gave away. And that's what it's going to point to, plain and simple, Anyway, that being said, I'm going to leave it here for now. Again, complete effort by the Jets last night. That and the Miami game early this year, the one they won in MetLife. You know what? Though, all around complete effort. You can't go wrong with that. If the defense is finally starting to come around, especially in the front 7. That's what this team is built. That's what it's built for. And again, McCown's been decent for us. All things considered. Anyway, that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up for here. I'll be at work hopefully in a few minutes. So this is your Island Bleeder speaking. Deuces for now. It's nice to kind of try this out. It's kind of cool. Anyway, deuces for now. See ya.